Hey there, it's Professor Bernstein, and in this video, I'm going to share with you one of the biggest misperceptions about the Romantics' writing style and writing habits, and I'm going to share with you some more details about Thoreau's own writing practice. So you already know that the Romantics placed a great deal of emphasis on intuition and the present moment. In terms of writing, they wanted to break free from classical precedents, which means that they didn't want to have to force their ideas and their writing into some pre-existing form for how to write. Instead, they wanted the form, the structure, the style of their writing to be organically connected to their ideas themselves. So there was a natural relationship between the ideas and their form, and the form would take shape and emerge out of their own ideas. Here's the really big misperception. Some people, based on these ideas, have been mistakenly led to believe that the Romantics' writing style was somehow really spontaneous and carefree and free form and just based on intuition. Now, I understand where people get these ideas from. In Lyrical Ballads, a collection of poems put together by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, this is a text, a collection of poetry that's really generally believed to have sort of launched the phase of British Romanticism. And in here, Wordsworth says that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Sometimes students think that the Romantics only wrote when they were experiencing this intense outpouring of emotion or as ideas were rushing through their minds. Now, don't get me wrong, they did write under those conditions. They often wrote under those conditions. Later on in the semester, when we're reading Thoreau's journal, you'll really get to see for yourself how he recorded his thoughts and ideas and perceptions in the present moment. And the style of that writing is very, very different from the style of Walden. One thing that you'll probably notice when you're reading Thoreau's writing in general is that unlike British Romantics like Wordsworth, feelings are not as dominant in Thoreau's work. Thoreau's emphasis is really more on the mind and all the thoughts that are flowing through it, and on the mind's connection to nature and the higher laws of being. So there's a little bit more of an emphasis on the mind than on the feelings. I want to get back to the big misperception about the Romantics' writing style and practices. They didn't just pour out their thoughts and feelings and then publish them. They might have been writing in the moment and recording these powerful emotions and thoughts, but they also kept coming back to what they wrote and reshaping it and tinkering with it until it sounded or seemed just right. For instance, as one scholar points out, Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, one of his most well-known poems, which was also published in Lyrical Ballads, went through 18 different versions, each representing, this is a direct quote, each representing a distinct authorial intention at a particular time. Thoreau himself wrote nearly 7 drafts of Walden, deeply committed to the craft of writing. And for him, as for Emerson, reading and writing were intimately connected. As Robert Richardson points out in his biography of Thoreau, Thoreau kept a journal for his own observations and original thoughts, and another one for memorable bits from his readings. In the 19th century and in the generations before, many American writers kept what we would call commonplace books. And that's where they would just have these notebooks that were filled from quotes from books that they were reading. And sometimes they would have it, on a text-by-text basis, but then they might start reviewing those notebooks and those journals and bringing together certain ideas. So say they found themselves interested in the issue of friendship. They might have a notebook called Friendship, or a section of their notebook called Friendship, and they would pull in all sorts of different quotes from all different readings about this issue. And as Richardson points out, in 1841, Thoreau went back over and recopied into a new notebook all that remained, or that all that he wished to keep, still hundreds of pages of his earlier journals. Later on, Richardson notes, Thoreau developed the habit of working back over his journals and rereading books to re-engage old subjects in the light of new interests and to revise and recopy his own earlier journal work, measuring, weighing, culling, and sorting his materials. What do you make of this practice of writing and rewriting and reworking his journals? What does this tell us about how Thoreau cultivates his own knowledge and his perspectives? Does this relate to or differ from what Thoreau said about his education at Harvard, that passage we've been discussing about how Harvard taught him only the branches of knowledge but none of the roots? Could this practice somehow help him get to the roots of knowledge? If so, how? Now, Thoreau didn't just spend his time copying and recopying and reworking his own ideas from his journals and from his commonplace books where he was collecting quotes from his reading. He'd often sort of write up from his journals. So his journals became like source material for his more formal writings like Walden. And in his journals, that's where he would capture what was transpiring in the present moment, or he would capture what happened earlier in that particular day. These journals, as you're going to see later in the semester when we're actually reading his journals, are characterized more by a richness of observation than by providing any definitive rulings on the experiences he was recording. It's only later, when he comes back to these experiences, that he really starts shaping and reshaping these experiences, finding connections and discovering patterns, and turns them into narratives like Walden. We're going to talk a lot more about the structure of Walden as we read more of it, but for right now, I just want to point out a very important structural detail. The structural point is one of the major differences between Thoreau's actual experience living at Walden for 2 years and the experience that he presents in Walden, the narrative that we're reading. As he points out in Walden, one of his experiments at living in Walden was living in the present moment. And he says that he wants to describe this more at length, but for the sake of convenience, he's going to put the experience of 2 years into one. Thinks about and reshapes his private journals and rethinks his experience at Walden. What he does, all of that writing was private writing. His journals were not intended to be published. But when he turns his attention to creating a public narrative, he condenses and distills these 2 years into one. How do you think he did this? What effect might this condensation have on the narrative? What is the significance of this decision from your perspective? Think about these issues and questions that I've raised in this video as you're reading Walden. And when you're ready, head over to the video on aesthetics and Thoreau and the experience of reading him and what that means in terms of our ability to know Thoreau. And as always, if you like this video, I would love it if you liked it. And if you haven't already done so, I would be honored if you subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.